My name is Stephanie Walker, and at 32 years old, I just became the youngest senior marketing director in Horizon Media history. After 5 years of dedication, I finally got the promotion I deserved. I reserved a table at Bellini, bought a new dress, and invited everyone from the office to celebrate with me. But as I sit here alone at this large table surrounded by empty chairs, my heart sinks with each passing minute. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever felt betrayed by people you thought were on your team. 5 years ago, I walked into Horizon Media with nothing but determination and a marketing degree. I was hungry to prove myself in a competitive industry where connections often matter more than talent. From day one, I put in the hours that others would not. While my colleagues clocked out at 5, I was the one staying until 9 or 10 at night, perfecting proposals and analyzing market trends. Weekends became just another opportunity to get ahead, and vacations were rare luxuries I could not afford if I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. The office dynamic at Horizon was complicated. We presented ourselves as a family to clients, but beneath the surface competition thrived. Still, I managed to form what I thought were genuine connections. Jessica Patel was the first person who befriended me. She worked in the same department, started just 6 months before me, and quickly became my work best friend. We shared lunch breaks, exchanged office gossip, and helped each other through difficult projects. She was the one who brought me coffee during late nights and listened to my ideas when no one else would. I trusted her completely, considered her the sister I never had in this cutthroat environment. Daniel Thompson was my direct boss, a 45-year-old marketing veteran who seemed to appreciate my work ethic. He was tough but fair, pushing me to improve while recognizing my achievements with small gestures. When I landed the Peterson account last year, he took me to lunch and told me I had a bright future at Horizon. His approval meant everything to me, and I worked even harder to live up to his expectations. Then there was Megan Williams. At 55, she had been with Horizon for 25 years and held significant influence despite her official title being parallel to mine. She was charismatic, well-connected with the old guard, and knew the industry inside out. On the surface, she was supportive of younger employees, offering advice and sharing contacts. But there was always something calculated in her generosity, as if she was keeping score of every favor. She was set to retire at the end of the month, a fact that generated mixed reactions around the office. Allison Brooks headed Human Resources, a stern-by-the-book professional who rarely engaged in office socializing. She maintained a professional distance from everyone, which made her intimidating but respected. Our interactions had been limited to performance reviews and benefit discussions, always cordial but never warm. The competitive environment at Horizon intensified when a major potential client, Thompson Industries, began looking for a new marketing agency. Everyone knew landing this account would be career-changing. The CEO, Catherine Daniels, made it clear that whoever secured Thompson would be in line for the senior marketing director position that was opening up. Megan seemed like the obvious choice for the task. She had decades of experience and a friendship with the previous management at Thompson. Daniel assigned both of us to develop pitches, which I initially saw as a learning opportunity to work alongside someone with Megan's experience. However, as we worked together, I noticed Megan guarding information and excluding me from key meetings. So I decided to take a risk. I worked through 3 weekends straight researching Thompson Industries from every angle. I discovered their new executive team was pushing for innovative digital strategies that would appeal to younger demographics, something Megan had dismissed as a passing trend. I developed a comprehensive digital marketing plan focused on this vision. When presentation day came, I delivered my pitch with confidence, addressing the exact concerns the new VP of Thompson had expressed, but that Megan had overlooked. The room fell silent when I finished, and I could feel Megan's cold stare burning into me. 2 weeks later, Catherine called me into her office. Thompson Industries had chosen my proposal, and the senior marketing director position was mine. Daniel congratulated me enthusiastically. Jessica squealed and hugged me when I told her, and most colleagues seemed genuinely happy for me. Megan offered a tight smile and brief congratulations before leaving early that day. I was ecstatic. 5 years of sacrifice had finally paid off. This promotion meant not just a substantial salary increase, but validation of my approach and vision. I immediately began planning a celebration dinner at Bellini, an upscale Italian restaurant downtown that I could never have afforded before. I sent invitations to everyone in the office, including Catherine and even Allison from HR. The responses were initially positive. Jessica said she would not miss it for the world. Daniel confirmed with a supportive email saying he was proud of me. Others from the marketing team and adjacent departments also RSVP'd yes. Only Megan declined, citing preparations for her retirement party the following week, which seemed reasonable. But as the date approached, things began to shift. Jessica mentioned being swamped with the Thompson onboarding that I had delegated to her as my first official act as director. Daniel had to reschedule our meeting to discuss my new responsibilities twice. Other colleagues became vague about the celebration when I mentioned it in the break room. Still, I refused to see the signs. The night of my celebration, I spent hours getting ready, selecting a forest green dress that made me feel confident and professional. I styled my hair in loose waves, applied makeup more carefully than usual, and even splurged on a taxi to avoid parking hassles. Nothing would diminish this perfect evening that symbolized everything I had worked for. As I gave the driver directions to Bellini, my excitement overshadowed the quiet worry that had been building all week. This was my moment, and surely the people who had witnessed my journey would want to share in it. Bellini was everything I had hoped for when I made the reservation. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over white tablecloths. The soft murmur of conversation created an atmosphere of sophistication, and the scent of authentic Italian cuisine filled the air. The maitre d' led me to a large round table set for 15 people positioned prominently in the center of the restaurant. I had arrived 30 minutes early to make sure everything was perfect. I arranged the name cards I had carefully written the night before, placed a small gift bag with personalized thank you notes and gourmet chocolates at each setting, and ordered 2 bottles of champagne to be chilled and ready. The waiter Antonio smiled approvingly at my preparations and assured me my guests would be impressed. 7 o'clock came the time I had set on the invitations. I checked my phone for messages, finding none. No problem, I thought. People run late, especially on a Thursday evening with downtown traffic. I sipped water and smiled politely as Antonio came by to check if I wanted to order an appetizer while waiting. 7:15. No arrivals, no messages. I sent a group text to Jessica, Daniel, and a few others asking if they were on their way. Only Jessica responded with a vague running behind start without me. I ordered bruschetta to nibble on, still maintaining my excitement despite the growing knot in my stomach. 7:30. The bruschetta sat mostly untouched. Antonio was now giving me looks of concern rather than approval. Other diners glanced curiously at the lone woman surrounded by empty chairs. I called Jessica, but it went straight to voicemail. Same with Daniel. I texted a few more colleagues, individually receiving either no response or unconvincing excuses about unexpected circumstances. By 8 o'clock, I could no longer ignore the reality. No one was coming. The champagne bottles remained unopened, the name cards undisturbed, except by the gentle air-conditioning breeze. Antonio approached with an expression that had transformed from concern to pity. "Would you like to move to a smaller table, miss?" he asked gently. The suggestion, though practical and well-intended, was the first crack in my composure. Moving would be admitting defeat, acknowledging the humiliation I was experiencing. "No thank you," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I will give them a bit more time." Antonio nodded and discreetly removed some of the place settings, as if reducing the number of empty chairs might somehow make the situation less painful. He brought me a complimentary glass of wine, which I accepted gratefully. As I sipped the Cabernet, trying to look comfortable and not at all devastated, I overheard a conversation from the table behind me. "The retirement party for that marketing executive is apparently amazing," a woman was saying. "My sister works there and sent me pictures. They rented out the entire rooftop at the Skyline Hotel. Open bar, live band, the works." "That sounds much better than the boring client dinner I just escaped from," her companion replied. I froze wine glass halfway to my lips. The Skyline Hotel was only a few blocks away. A sinking feeling washed over me as I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram. It took only seconds to confirm my suspicion. Jessica had posted a story just 10 minutes ago. The image showed her raising a glass with the city skyline behind her, caption reading, "Celebrating an amazing career with the best team ever. We will miss you, Megan." My fingers trembling, I scrolled through more posts. There was Daniel with his arm around Megan, both laughing. Catherine raising a toast at what was clearly an elaborate event. Even Allison from HR was there, looking more relaxed than I had ever seen her. Photo after photo showed my colleagues all the people who had RSVP'd to my dinner celebrating enthusiastically at Megan's retirement party. The party that was supposed to be next week. The party they had all chosen over my promotion celebration. I put down my phone and stared at the untouched gift bags, each containing a heartfelt note, thanking the recipient for their support in my journey. The irony was almost too much to bear. I had been grateful for support that was clearly never there. More time passed in a blur. Antonio continued to check on me, his pity now unbearable. I ordered food I could not eat, and more wine I probably should not have drunk. Around me, other diners enjoyed their meals with friends, lovers, and colleagues, their laughter and conversation, highlighting my isolation. By 9:30, I had given up all pretense. I was gathering the gift bags, preparing to pay the exorbitant bill for food and drinks that had gone mostly unconsumed when my phone lit up with a notification. Expecting another social media update from the retirement party, I almost did not check it. But it was not from Instagram or Facebook. It was a message from Allison Brooks. "We need to talk, now." The capitals and period gave the message an urgency that sent a chill through me, despite the wine warming my system. Allison was at Megan's party. I had just seen photographic evidence. Why would she be texting me about an urgent discussion at nearly 10 at night? Before I could respond, another notification appeared. And another. My phone suddenly came alive with a flood of alerts, indicating I had missed calls. Not just a few, but dozens. 93 missed calls from a number I did not recognize, all within the past 3 hours. Something was very wrong, and it had nothing to do with my colleagues choosing another celebration over mine. As humiliating as this evening had been, I had a feeling it was about to get much worse. I paid the bill in a daze, leaving Antonio a tip that was probably excessive given my financial situation, but felt necessary after occupying a large table alone for hours. The gift bags I had so carefully prepared remained behind. I could not bear to take them with me, each one a painful reminder of my misplaced trust. The cool night air hit me as I stepped outside Bellini, bringing clarity to my wine-muddled thoughts. Allison's message demanded immediate attention, but I hesitated to respond. What could be so urgent that the HR director would contact me during a social event, and those missed calls? 93 attempts from the same unknown number suggested a level of emergency that made my stomach churn. I should have gone home. The logical thing would have been to process my humiliation in private, to lick my wounds, and face whatever professional crisis was brewing after a good night's sleep. But anger and hurt propelled me forward. If something was happening at Horizon that required my attention, I would address it now while my colleagues were celebrating. Instead of calling a taxi, I walked the 6 blocks to the Horizon Media building. Our offices occupied 3 floors of a downtown high-rise, accessible after hours, with a security keycard. The lobby was deserted except for the night security guard, who recognized me and nodded as I swiped my card at the elevator. As the elevator climbed to the 18th floor, I texted Allison back. "I am heading to the office now. We'll be there in 5 minutes. Her response was immediate. "We are in the main conference room." So I would not be meeting Allison alone. The knot in my stomach tightened. The office was eerily quiet, most of the lights dimmed to the energy-saving setting that activated after hours. I made my way to the conference room at the end of the main corridor, my heels clicking loudly on the hard floor. Through the glass walls, I could see 2 figures waiting. Allison, and to my surprise, Catherine Daniels, our CEO. Catherine rarely stayed past 6 and never came in for emergencies unless they involved potential 7-figure losses. Her presence elevated whatever this situation was from concerning to potentially catastrophic. I straightened my back, adjusted my dress, and pushed open the door with more confidence than I felt. "Stephanie." Catherine said, her tone neutral, but her expression grave. "Thank you for coming in." "Of course," I replied, taking a seat across from them. "What is this about?" Allison and Catherine exchanged glances, before Allison slid a folder across the table toward me. "We received a formal complaint from Thompson Industries this evening," she said. "It concerns your conduct during the acquisition of their account." I stared at the folder without opening it. "My conduct I do not understand." Catherine leaned forward. "Thompson is claiming you offered unauthorized discounts and made promises about service levels that Horizon cannot fulfill. They have provided emails allegedly sent by you that detail these offers." "That is impossible," I said, my voice rising slightly. "I never sent any such emails. Everything I presented was within our standard offerings." Open the folder, Stephanie Allison instructed. Inside were printouts of emails, all bearing my name and email address. The messages outlined pricing structures well below our minimum thresholds and promised dedicated staff that would have required hiring additional personnel we did not have budget for. The language sounded like me, but contained subtle differences I would never have written. "These are fabricated," I said firmly. "I never sent these." "They came from your email account," Catherine said. "The timestamps align with when you were working on the Thompson proposal." "Someone must have accessed my account," I insisted. I would never jeopardize a client relationship with false promises. Catherine's expression remained skeptical. "Thompson is threatening to pull their business entirely. They feel misled and are questioning our entire agency's integrity." The room seemed to spin around me. The Thompson account was worth millions, the reason for my promotion, the culmination of all my hard work, and now it was all in jeopardy because of emails I had never sent. "Effective immediately. You are suspended pending investigation," Allison stated formally. "We will need your laptop and access card before you leave tonight." "Suspended," I echoed in disbelief. "You cannot seriously think I would do this." "We need to investigate thoroughly," Catherine said. "If these emails were indeed sent without your knowledge, we need to understand how that happened. If they were not," she left the implication hanging. As the severity of the situation sank in, I noticed details in the conference room I had missed upon entering. On the credenza behind Catherine sat several gift bags and wrapped presents. A banner partially visible through the door to the adjoining room read, "Happy Retirement." "You set up Megan's party here," I said quietly. "The party was moved to the skyline at the last minute," Allison explained, looking uncomfortable for the first time. Megan felt the office space was too confined. The timing suddenly became clear. Megan's retirement party had originally been scheduled for next week, but had been moved to coincide exactly with my promotion dinner. It was not a coincidence that everyone had chosen her celebration over mine. It had been orchestrated. "Did everyone know about the change in venue?" "About the date change?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Neither woman responded directly, which was confirmation enough. "Your personal items will be packed and sent to your home." Allison continued, steering the conversation back to my suspension. "Please do not contact any Horizon employees or clients during the investigation. That includes Thompson Industries." My phone vibrated again in my purse. I pulled it out to silence it and saw the unknown number calling for what must have been the 94th time. This time I answered and put it on speaker. "Hello," I said. "Stephanie Walker. This is Thomas Reynolds, VP of Operations at Thompson Industries. I have been trying to reach you all evening. We need to discuss some concerning communications we have received, supposedly from your agency." Catherine's eyes widened. Allison reached for the phone, but I pulled it away. "Mr. Reynolds," I said clearly, "I am currently with my CEO and HR director discussing those very communications which I did not send. I would very much like to hear your perspective." As Thomas began explaining from his end, I realized this crisis was even more complex than it initially appeared, and someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to engineer my downfall on what should have been the proudest night of my career. The following days passed in a blur of anxiety and isolation. My apartment, once a haven I rarely saw due to long work hours, became a prison of uncertainty. Catherine had instructed me not to contact anyone from Horizon, but she had not anticipated how thoroughly I would be cut off. Former colleagues who had texted me daily now went silent. Emails went unanswered. Social media became a minefield of office photos that pointedly excluded me, as if my 5 years at the company were being systematically erased. I attempted to reach Jessica 3 times before accepting the new reality. Our first conversation lasted less than a minute. "I cannot talk about this, Stephanie," she said, her voice tense. "Legal has advised us not to discuss anything related to Thompson or your situation." "This is not about Thompson," I pleaded. "This is about 5 years of friendship. I just need to understand what happened." "I am sorry. I cannot get involved." The line went dead before I could respond. Daniel was no better, sending a brief text that read, only, "Need to let HR handle this. Wishing you well." The man who had mentored me for 5 years could not even spare a phone call. By the 3rd day of my suspension, I had cycled through shock, hurt, and anger, finally settling into a cold determination to clear my name. If no one at Horizon would help me, I would have to find answers elsewhere. My first breakthrough came unexpectedly. Elizabeth Carter, a 22-year-old intern in the creative department, sent me a message from a personal email account I did not recognize. Everyone is talking about you, but no one knows the whole story. I do not think what is happening is right. Can we meet somewhere off-site? Elizabeth was quiet and observant, the type who blended into the background of meetings while missing nothing. I had always been kind to her, remembering what it was like to be young and intimidated in a competitive environment. Now that small kindness was paying dividends. We met at a coffee shop 20 blocks from Horizon, far enough away that we were unlikely to encounter colleagues. Elizabeth looked nervous but resolute as she slid into the booth across from me. "Thank you for meeting me," I said. "You are taking a risk." "It is nothing compared to what you are going through," she replied. "The office is toxic right now. Everyone is taking sides, but most people are aligning with Megan because she is still there and you are not." "Megan," I asked, "what does she have to do with this?" Elizabeth glanced around before leaning closer. "She never actually retired. The day after your suspension was announced, Catherine offered her your position as senior marketing director. She accepted immediately, like she was expecting it." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Megan had not been planning to retire at all. That had been part of the setup. "There is more," Elizabeth continued. "The night of the party before they all went to the skyline, Megan gave a speech about loyalty and how younger employees do not respect experience anymore. She never mentioned you by name, but everyone knew who she meant. She talked about how she had almost lost the Thompson account because of aggressive tactics, but had managed to smooth things over with her contacts there." "Her contacts," I repeated. "Did she mention who specifically?" "Someone named Robert Jenkins. Apparently they have known each other for years." The name triggered a memory. During my research on Thompson Industries, I had noted that Robert Jenkins was the outgoing marketing director who had been replaced by Thomas Reynolds just 2 months ago. Thomas represented the new direction at Thompson, the very reason my innovative digital approach had won the account over Megan's traditional strategy. I needed to talk to Thomas again. Our brief conversation at the office had been cut short by Catherine, who had insisted all communications go through proper channels during the investigation. But Thomas had been trying desperately to reach me before that, making those 93 calls when no one else seemed concerned about my side of the story. Using Elizabeth as my eyes and ears at Horizon, I began piecing together what had happened. Megan, facing forced retirement, as Horizon sought younger leadership, had seen the Thompson account as her last chance to prove her value. When my pitch won, instead securing both the client and the promotion she coveted, she had carefully orchestrated her revenge. The fake emails had likely been created using access to my computer. I recalled lending Megan my laptop during a power outage the week before the Thompson presentation when her desktop had shut down mid-document. Just 5 minutes with my logged-in email account would have been enough to create a rule forwarding certain messages to another account. Elizabeth confirmed my theory the following week, having overheard Megan discussing technical issues with our IT director. Apparently, there had been unexpected complications removing certain email rules from the server. Thomas Reynolds finally agreed to meet me privately after receiving evidence I had gathered about the timeline of events. We met at a small restaurant near his office where he filled in the final pieces of the puzzle. "Robert Jenkins and Megan Williams have been friends for 20 years, he explained. "When I replaced Robert, he was not happy about being pushed out. The board wanted new blood, new ideas, which is exactly why your pitch won over the more traditional approach." "So Robert never left Thompson entirely?" I asked. "He maintained relationships with several board members. When these emails appeared supposedly from you offering impossible terms, Robert brought them directly to those board members, bypassing me entirely. It created enough doubt about your integrity that they almost pulled the account. But no official complaint was filed," I realized. Catherine and Allison said Thompson had filed a formal complaint, but that was a lie. Thomas nodded. "Robert and Megan manufactured a crisis, but Thompson Industries never officially complained about anything. In fact, I have been trying to reach you because we are extremely happy with the initial work Horizon has done under your strategy." The picture was now complete. Megan had used her connection with Robert to create the appearance of impropriety on my part. She had scheduled her retirement party to conflict with my celebration, ensuring I would be alone and unable to defend myself when the false accusations emerged. And she had manipulated Catherine's fear of losing a major client to secure my suspension and ultimately take my position. It was elegant in its cruelty, a masterclass in office politics I had been too naive to anticipate. With Thomas's help, I obtained copies of the falsified emails with their full technical headers, which clearly showed they had been sent through a different server path than my legitimate communications. Elizabeth provided internal communications showing Megan had known about the allegations before they were officially brought to Catherine's attention. Most damning of all, Robert Jenkins himself unwittingly confirmed the scheme in an email to Megan that Elizabeth forwarded to me. Glad our plan worked perfectly. The board has calmed down now that you are handling the account. Your protégé never knew what hit her. After 2 weeks of methodical investigation, I had enough evidence to prove not only my innocence, but the deliberate sabotage orchestrated by Megan Williams, aided by Robert Jenkins, and enabled by the willful blindness of Horizon's leadership. The question now was how to use this information most effectively. A direct approach to Catherine might be intercepted or dismissed. An email could be deleted unread. I needed to present my case in a way that could not be ignored or minimized. The answer came from an unexpected source. Elizabeth texted me on a Friday afternoon, all hands meeting Monday at 9 a.m., Megan being officially introduced as new senior marketing director. Catherine board, everyone will be there. It was the perfect opportunity. A public forum where all the key players would be present, where the truth could be revealed in a way that would be impossible to dismiss or cover up. I had the weekend to prepare my case and my approach. As I organized my evidence and practiced what I would say, I realized how much I had changed in just 2 weeks. The eager-to-please employee who had craved validation from her colleagues was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, more clear-eyed, about the realities of corporate politics, and absolutely determined to reclaim what was rightfully hers. Monday morning arrived with a clarity of purpose I had never experienced before. I dressed in a tailored black suit rather than the softer styles I typically favored. This was not about blending in or being likable. This was about power and truth. I arrived at Horizon Media at 8:45, 15 minutes before the all-hands meeting was scheduled to begin. My access card had been deactivated, but I had anticipated this and timed my arrival to coincide with the morning rush of employees. I slipped in behind a group from accounting, none of whom noticed me in the crowd. The main conference room had been expanded for the meeting, temporary walls removed to accommodate the entire company. I positioned myself near the back entrance, partially hidden by a large potted plant, and watched as people filtered in. The energy in the room was festive, with coffee and pastries laid out on side tables and excited chatter filling the air. At precisely 9, Catherine stepped to the front of the room, flanked by Megan and several board members. My former boss, Daniel, stood to one side, looking uncomfortable but resigned. Jessica sat in the front row, her expression eager as she gazed up at Megan. "Good morning, everyone," Catherine began. "Today marks an exciting new chapter for Horizon Media. As you know, we have faced some challenges recently with the Thompson Industries account, but thanks to quick action and experienced leadership, we have stabilized that relationship." Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Catherine smiled and continued. "That is why I am particularly pleased to officially announce Megan Williams as our new Senior Marketing Director. Megan has graciously postponed her retirement to help us through this transition and will be taking over leadership of the Thompson account, effective immediately." Applause broke out as Megan stepped forward, beaming with false modesty. "Thank you, Catherine, and thank you to everyone at Horizon for your support during this challenging time. When I saw the company facing a potential crisis, I knew I could not possibly leave you all in the lurch." Her sanctimonious tone made my blood boil, but I remained still, waiting for the perfect moment. "I have been with Horizon for 25 years, Megan continued, "and I have seen many talented young people come through our doors. Unfortunately, sometimes ambition can cloud judgment." The implication was clear, and I saw several people glance uncomfortably at each other. They all knew she was talking about me. But that is behind us now. I am looking forward to mentoring the next generation, properly emphasizing integrity and client relationships built on trust rather than flashy promises we cannot keep. That was my cue. I stepped out from my hiding place and walked deliberately down the center aisle toward the front of the room. A ripple of shocked whispers followed me as people recognized who was interrupting the celebration. "Speaking of integrity," I said loudly, my voice cutting through the murmurs, "I think we should discuss what that word actually means." Catherine's face drained of color. "Stephanie, this is inappropriate. You are not authorized to be here." "Neither is fraud authorized at Horizon Media," I replied calmly, reaching the front of the room, "but that has not stopped it from happening." Megan stepped forward, her expression, a mixture of anger and fear. "You should leave before security is called. You are embarrassing yourself." "No, Megan. For the first time in weeks, I am standing exactly where I belong." I turned to address the room at large. "I have been accused of sending fraudulent emails to Thompson Industries, offering unauthorized terms that jeopardized our relationship with them. Those accusations are false, and I can prove it." I pulled out my phone and connected it to the projection system, using the conference room controls. A series of email headers appeared on the large screen behind me. "These are the technical headers from the emails supposedly sent by me," I explained. "As anyone in IT can confirm, they were routed through an external server before being delivered to Thompson. My legitimate emails I swipe to the next screen have a completely different signature path." The room had fallen completely silent. I could feel every eye on me, including Catherine's increasingly worried gaze. But the real question is not just how these emails were falsified, but why, and by whom. I swiped again, bringing up the damning email from Robert Jenkins to Megan. This message between Megan Williams and Robert Jenkins, the recently ousted marketing director at Thompson, makes that very clear. Jessica gasped audibly from the front row as the evidence of conspiracy appeared on screen. Daniel stepped back from Megan as if physical distance might somehow separate him from the unfolding scandal. "Robert and Megan have been friends for decades," I continued. "When I won the Thompson account with a digital strategy that appealed to the new leadership, I threatened both their old guard approaches. So they collaborated to discredit me using falsified communications timed perfectly to coincide with a retirement party that was suddenly rescheduled to conflict with my promotion celebration." I looked directly at Megan now, a retirement that was never actually intended to happen. Megan's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "These are baseless accusations," she sputtered. "Catherine, you cannot allow this disruption to continue." Before Catherine could respond, the back doors opened and Thomas Reynolds walked in. I had arranged for his arrival with perfect timing. "Actually," Thomas said, approaching the front of the room, "these accusations are far from baseless. Thompson Industries has conducted its own investigation into these communications, and we have confirmed they were falsified. Furthermore, Robert Jenkins has been terminated from his consulting role with our company for his part in this deception." Catherine looked stunned. "Mr. Reynolds, we had understood that Thompson filed a formal complaint about Stephanie's conduct." "No such complaint was ever filed," Thomas stated firmly. "In fact, we have been extremely pleased with the innovative strategy Stephanie developed for us. The only communications we received expressing concerns came from Megan Williams after Stephanie's suspension, suggesting that the strategy be abandoned in favor of a more traditional approach." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Elizabeth, who had positioned herself near the front, was recording everything discreetly on her phone. "Our insurance policy against any attempt to twist this confrontation after the fact." "I trusted you," I said to Megan, my voice cutting through the noise. "I respected your experience and tried to learn from you. And you betrayed not just me, but this entire company and our client, all because you could not accept change or recognize that new ideas have value." Megan's composure finally cracked. "You think 5 years gives you the right to take what I spent decades building," she shouted. "You swooped in with your algorithms and social media expertise, making everyone forget the relationships I cultivated for years. Thompson was mine. That promotion was supposed to be mine." Her outburst confirmed everything. Jessica covered her mouth in shock. Daniel closed his eyes, his expression pained. Catherine stepped forward, her business instincts finally overriding her personal loyalties. "Megan, that is enough," she said firmly. "Mr. Reynolds, on behalf of Horizon Media, I sincerely apologize for this situation. I assure you we will address it immediately." "I would expect nothing less," Thomas replied. "And I would also expect Stephanie Walker to be reinstated as our account lead without delay. Thompson Industries signed with Horizon because of her vision, not despite it." All eyes turned to Catherine, who now faced a public reckoning with her own rush to judgment. Her reputation for fairness and business acumen hung in the balance of her next decision. "Stephanie will be fully reinstated," Catherine announced after a moment of tense silence. "Megan, please go to Allison's office immediately. The rest of you take a 15-minute break. Senior leadership will remain here." As the room slowly emptied, I stood my ground, meeting the eyes of colleagues who had abandoned me. Some looked ashamed, others calculating, reassessing my position in the company hierarchy now that I had proven my innocence so dramatically. Jessica approached hesitantly. "Stephanie, I had no idea. You have to believe me. But you did not ask, did you? I replied quietly. When given the choice between believing the worst about me or questioning what you were told, you took the easier path. She flinched as if I had slapped her. That is not fair. None of this has been fair, Jessica. I turned away from her to face Catherine, Daniel, and the board members who remained. Now, shall we discuss what happens next? The power in the room had shifted. For the first time since joining Horizon, I was not asking for recognition or approval. I was demanding accountability, and everyone present knew they would have to provide it. The immediate fallout from my confrontation was seismic. Megan was escorted from the building within the hour, her retirement suddenly immediate, and her severance package substantially reduced. The story spread through the office like wildfire, with Elizabeth ensuring the accurate version prevailed over any attempted spin. By lunchtime, my personal items had been returned to my office, my access restored, and a company-wide email sent by Catherine, acknowledging the unfortunate misunderstanding and welcoming me back as Senior Marketing Director. The carefully worded corporate speak did little to disguise the humiliating reversal for Horizon's leadership. The following days brought a parade of awkward apologies and transparent attempts to realign with me now that my position was not only restored but strengthened by Thomas's open support. Colleagues who had ignored my texts just days before now appeared at my door with coffee and invitations to lunch. Each smile felt calculated, each friendly gesture a strategic move rather than a genuine connection. Jessica was among the first to attempt reconciliation, catching me alone in the break room the day after my return. I should have trusted you, she said, her eyes welling with tears. 5 years of friendship, and I threw it away without even giving you the benefit of the doubt. I measured my response carefully. You believed what was convenient to believe, Jessica. When choosing between supporting me and protecting yourself, you made your priorities clear. That is not fair, she protested. Allison told us not to contact you. Legal said it could compromise the investigation. And you always follow every instruction to the letter, I asked, raising an eyebrow. Elizabeth found a way to help me despite the risks. She showed loyalty I thought I had earned from you. Jessica flinched. Can we move past this? Start fresh, I miss my friend. A week earlier, I would have jumped at the chance to restore our relationship. Now I saw it differently. We can be professional colleagues, Jessica. But friendship requires trust, and that will take time to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. She nodded sadly, and left me alone with my coffee. The interaction set the tone for how I would navigate my return, cordial but guarded, professional but not personal. Daniel proved more complicated. Unlike Jessica and others who had simply abandoned me, Daniel had been actively complicit in my suspension, accepting the falsified evidence without question, despite years of working closely with me. He appeared at my office late one evening, when most had gone home, closing the door behind him. I owe you an apology, he began, looking genuinely distressed. I failed you as a manager and as a mentor. Yes, you did, I agreed, offering no easy absolution. Daniel sighed heavily. I believed Megan because I have known her for 15 years. I trusted her judgment when she raised concerns about your approach with Thompson. That was my mistake. The mistake was not verifying the accusations before acting on them, I corrected. The mistake was excluding me from my own celebration to attend hers. The mistake was sending me a text instead of a phone call when my career was imploding. He nodded, accepting the rebuke. What can I do to make this right? The question surprised me. I had expected excuses, not accountability. You can support my decisions publicly going forward, I said, after consideration. You can advocate for the changes I want to implement in our department. And you can give me the space to lead without undermining me with the team. Done, he said simply. And Stephanie, for what it is worth, I am truly sorry. His sincerity seemed genuine, but I had learned my lesson about taking people at face value. Actions will matter more than words, Daniel. We will see. My most surprising conversation came from Catherine herself, who invited me to dinner at an exclusive restaurant far from the office. The privacy of the setting suggested she wanted to speak freely away from corporate constraints. I made a serious error in judgment, she said after we had ordered. I allowed a valued employee to be ambushed without due process, and for that I apologize. Thank you for acknowledging that, I replied, maintaining my professional composure despite the informal setting. Catherine studied me thoughtfully. You have handled this situation with remarkable poise. Many in your position would have resigned and pursued legal action. May I ask why you chose to fight instead? The question made me realize how much I had changed. 3 weeks ago, I might have slunk away convinced I had done something to deserve what happened. But this experience taught me that sometimes the people undermining you are doing so precisely because you deserve to succeed. A small smile crossed her face. Well put. The board has authorized me to offer you a substantial raise along with your reinstatement, as well as a bonus to compensate for the distress caused. I appreciate that, I said, but I want something else as well. Name it. Elizabeth Carter. I want her moved from intern to junior account executive on my team with appropriate salary adjustment. Catherine raised an eyebrow. The intern who helped you. Consider it done. Loyalty should be rewarded. Yes, I agreed. It should. As dinner concluded, Catherine made one final observation. You know, Stephanie, this unfortunate situation has revealed something important about Horizon's culture that needs addressing. The ease with which suspicion spread and support evaporated suggests a structural problem beyond one manipulative employee. It was the first time anyone had acknowledged the broader implications. What do you intend to do about it? I was hoping you might have some thoughts on that, Catherine replied. Someone with fresh eyes who has experienced both the best and worst of our company culture. The invitation to shape Horizon's future was unexpected but welcome. I will give it serious consideration. As we parted ways, I realized I had been offered not just reinstatement but influence. The question was, how to use it wisely. Thomas Reynolds proved to be an unexpected ally in my professional recovery. Far from being alienated by the drama surrounding their account, he seemed impressed by my perseverance and integrity. Our board is unanimously pleased with your reinstatement, he told me during our first official meeting after my return. In fact, they have authorized an expansion of our marketing budget based on the preliminary results of your strategy. The validation felt particularly sweet given what I had endured. I am glad to hear that. I have some new ideas I would like to discuss. Actually, Thomas said I have a different proposal. Thompson Industries is expanding our in-house marketing department. We need someone with vision to lead it. The position would come with a substantial salary increase, stock options, and a fresh start away from. He gestured vaguely at the Horizon office around us. The offer was tempting. A clean break, financial security, and vindication all in one package. But something held me back. I am honored by the offer, I told him sincerely. But I have unfinished business here. Rain check. Thomas smiled. The offer remains open. Think about it. I did think about it, especially during moments when the weight of rebuilding trust with colleagues felt overwhelming. But I had discovered something important about myself through this ordeal. I was not someone who ran from challenges, even painful ones. The most meaningful connection to emerge from the crisis was with Elizabeth. The young intern who had risked her position to help me showed more integrity than colleagues with years of experience. I made good on my promise to elevate her role personally, mentoring her as she transitioned to the account team. Why did you help me? I asked her, during a lunch outing a month after my return. You barely knew me. Elizabeth considered the question carefully. I saw how everyone turned on you without evidence. It reminded me of experiences I had in college being judged based on rumors rather than facts. I guess I just asked myself what kind of professional I wanted to become, one who follows the crowd or one who stands up for what is right. Her answer reflected a wisdom beyond her years. Well, I am grateful, and Horizon is lucky to have you. Horizon is lucky to still have you, she countered. Most people would have left after what happened. I considered it, I admitted. Thomas offered me a position at Thompson. Elizabeth's eyes widened. Why did you stay? The question forced me to articulate something I had been feeling but had not fully processed. Because running away would mean Megan still won in some way. Because I worked too hard for this position to abandon it. And because sometimes the only way to change a toxic culture is from within. As weeks turned into months, I gradually established a new equilibrium at Horizon. My relationship with Jessica evolved into a cordial professional association, rather than the close friendship we once shared. Daniel proved his sincerity by supporting my initiatives publicly and deferring to my judgment on the Thompson account. Catherine consulted me regularly on cultural issues, implementing several of my suggestions for improving transparency and accountability in management decisions. The experience had changed me fundamentally. The eager-to-please employee desperate for validation had been replaced by a more measured professional who understood the difference between collegiality and true alliance. I became more selective about where I invested my trust, and more attentive to actions rather than words. 6 months after my confrontation with Megan, I finally felt ready to reclaim the celebration that had been stolen from me. But this time, I would approach it differently. 6 months to the day after I sat alone at Bellini, I reserved the private dining room at Mariposa, a new restaurant that had none of the painful associations of that previous venue. The guest list was smaller this time, more carefully curated. Quality over quantity had become my mantra in both professional and personal relationships. The room was elegant but warm, with soft lighting and comfortable seating arranged to encourage conversation rather than formality. I had personally selected each detail from the menu to the subtle floral arrangements that added color without overwhelming the space. Elizabeth arrived first 15 minutes early, just as I had been. "This place is beautiful," she said, looking around appreciatively. "Much better than Bellini." I smiled at the comparison. Different occasion, different perspective. As other guests began to arrive, I greeted each personally. Daniel came with his wife, both making an effort to engage beyond superficial pleasantries. Jessica arrived looking slightly nervous, but I welcomed her warmly, recognizing the courage it took to face potential awkwardness. Several team members who had proven their value and integrity over the past months rounded out the group. Notably absent were those who had attempted to ingratiate themselves without demonstrating genuine change. Catherine arrived last, making a characteristically dramatic entrance. "Stephanie, this is lovely," she said, air-kissing my cheek. Though I must say the invitation was intriguingly vague about what we are celebrating. "All will be revealed," I promised, guiding her to the table where others were already enjoying appetizers and wine. Once everyone was seated and served, I stood to address the group. The nervous excitement I once would have felt was replaced by a calm confidence. "Thank you all for coming tonight. 6 months ago, I planned a different celebration that did not quite go as expected." A few uncomfortable chuckles acknowledged the understatement. Tonight is not about dwelling on past disappointments, but about recognizing how far we have come since then. I raised my glass. Horizon Media has undergone significant changes, many of which began with a difficult period of reckoning. Our client portfolio has expanded by 30%. Our internal communication has improved dramatically. And perhaps most importantly, we have begun to build a culture where integrity and innovation are valued equally. Murmurs of agreement rippled around the table. Even the most skeptical had to acknowledge the positive transformation of the past months. "I am proud of what we have accomplished together," I continued. "But tonight is also about personal celebration." Today, Catherine and the board approved the creation of a new division at Horizon, focused exclusively on digital innovation for emerging markets. I will be leading this division as executive director with Elizabeth as my second in command. Surprise and congratulations erupted around the table. Elizabeth looked stunned, having had no idea of her promotion. Daniel nodded approvingly, having been consulted about the new structure. Catherine smiled broadly, clearly pleased with the public announcement of initiatives she had championed. "This represents not just a new direction for me professionally, but for Horizon as a company," I explained. "We are embracing change rather than resisting it, looking forward, rather than clinging to outdated approaches." As dinner progressed, the conversation flowed naturally between business discussions and personal connections. I observed the dynamics with newfound clarity, noting the authentic interactions versus the performative ones. Jessica made a genuine effort to connect with Elizabeth, perhaps recognizing in her a reminder of better qualities she wished to reclaim. Daniel engaged thoughtfully with my vision for the new division, offering support without attempting to control or direct. Later in the evening, as dessert was being served, Thomas Reynolds made a surprise appearance. I had invited him separately, asking him to arrive for the final portion of the celebration. "Sorry I am late," he said, taking the empty seat I had reserved. "Client emergencies, you know how it is." "Perfect timing," I assured him, standing once more to address the group. "Many of you know Thomas as our primary contact at Thompson Industries. What you may not know is that Thompson has agreed to be the founding client of our new division with a 3-year commitment that ensures our stability as we grow." The announcement was met with excited applause. In the corporate world, nothing validated a new venture like financial commitment from a prestigious client. Furthermore, Thomas added, We have introduced Horizon to 3 of our partner companies, all of whom have expressed interest in similar arrangements. Your new division could well become the most profitable segment of Horizon within the year." Catherine looked positively giddy at this news, the businesswoman in her clearly calculating the revenue implications. Others at the table seemed equally impressed, perhaps reassessing yet again my position within the company hierarchy. As the evening wound down, I found myself in a quiet moment with Elizabeth, near the restaurant's large windows overlooking the city. "Did you know about the promotion?" she asked, still processing her new role. "Of course," I replied with a smile. "I insisted on it. Your loyalty earned more than just a junior position." Elizabeth shook her head in disbelief. "When I helped you, I never expected anything in return. I just did what seemed right." "That is exactly why you deserve this," I told her. "In a crisis, people show you who they really are. You showed integrity when it was difficult, not just when it was convenient." She considered this thoughtfully. "And the others, Jessica, Daniel, have you forgiven them?" The question was complex, deserving an honest answer. Forgiveness is not the same as forgetting. I can work effectively with them while remembering the lessons their actions taught me. True reconciliation requires acknowledgement, atonement, and changed behavior. Some relationships will never be the same, and that is okay. "That is remarkably healthy," Elizabeth observed. I laughed softly. It did not happen overnight. The first month after everything, I was angry enough to burn the whole place down, metaphorically speaking. But holding on to resentment only gave Megan continued power over my life. Learning to release that while maintaining appropriate boundaries was my own form of victory. As guests began to depart, each thanked me for the evening in ways that felt more genuine than obligatory. Catherine was the last to leave, pulling me aside for a private word. "You have handled yourself admirably through all of this," she said. "Many would have crumbled or become bitter. Instead, you have emerged as one of our strongest leaders." "Thank you," I replied, accepting the compliment without the desperate gratitude I once would have felt. "It has been quite a journey." "And speaking of journeys," Catherine continued, lowering her voice, "I heard through the grapevine that Megan is struggling to find another position. Apparently, word of her behavior has spread throughout the industry. The information did not bring the satisfaction I might once have expected. I hope she finds her way eventually. Holding on to vengeance serves no one in the end." Catherine studied me with newfound respect. "You really have changed." "We all have," I replied. "Some by choice, others by necessity." After everyone had gone, I lingered in the private dining room, reflecting on the contrast between this evening and that disastrous night 6 months ago. The empty chairs around me now represented a successful gathering concluded rather than painful abandonment. The quiet felt peaceful rather than isolating. My phone chimed with a message from Thomas. "Excellent evening. Our team is excited about the new division. Dinner next week to discuss details." I smiled as I replied affirmatively. Professional relationships built on mutual respect and clear boundaries had become my priority, replacing the desperate need for approval that had once driven me. The experience had taught me that sitting alone at a table could be either the most painful moment of your career or an opportunity to reassess who deserved a seat at your table in the first place. I had learned to value quality over quantity in my professional connections, to trust actions over words, and to recognize that sometimes losing what you thought you wanted opens the door to something better. As I gathered my things to leave, I felt a sense of closure and renewal. The journey from that humiliating night to this successful evening had transformed not just my career trajectory, but my understanding of myself. I was stronger now, more discerning, more authentic in my interactions. The restaurant staff had left a small box of chocolates with the bill, a gesture of appreciation for hosting the event. It reminded me of the personalized gift bags I had so carefully prepared for my promotion dinner, each one a symbol of misplaced gratitude. The memory no longer stung as it once had. Outside, the night air was crisp and clear, the city lights creating a tapestry of possibility across the skyline. I took a deep breath, feeling truly at peace with where I stood professionally and personally for the first time in months. Have you ever had a moment where betrayal turned into an unexpected blessing? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Like this video if you have ever had to rebuild after feeling abandoned, and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming workplace challenges. Remember, sometimes sitting alone at a table teaches you exactly who should be invited to your next dinner. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you find the strength to turn your disappointments into new beginnings.